Ephesians 5:21 states, "Be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ." It encourages mutual submission among believers, rooted in respect for Christ and his teachings. This means that all Christians should be willing to be led by one another, not in a way that undermines their own dignity, but in a way that honors Christ and builds up the community. Here's a more detailed explanation. Mutual submission. The verse emphasizes that Christians should be willing to submit to one another, not just in their personal relationships, but also within the wider church community. Reverence for Christ. This submission is motivated by a deep respect for Christ, who is the ultimate authority and head of the church. Practical application. This principle can be applied in various ways, such as being willing to defer to a leader, offering help to those in need, or being patient with those who disagree with you. Relationship dynamics. While the verse focuses on the general principle of mutual submission, it's often interpreted in relation to specific relationships, such as those between husbands and wives. Wives and husbands. In this context, the verse encourages wives to submit to their husbands, not as a form of domination, but as a way of honoring Christ and building a strong and loving marriage. Simultaneously, husbands are called to love and care for their wives as they would their own bodies, mirroring Christ's love for the church. What is the translation of Ephesians 5:21? Ephesians 5:21 and other translations 21. Out of respect for Christ, be courteously reverent to one another. 21. Subjecting yourselves one to another in the fear of Christ. 21. Place yourselves under each other's authority out of respect for Christ. 21. Submitting to one another in the fear of Christ. What is the main message of Ephesians 5? The main message of Ephesians 5 is a call to live as children of light, imitations of God in love and obedience, with a focus on how this applies to relationships, especially marriage. It emphasizes walking in the light, avoiding darkness and immorality, and being filled with the Spirit. Specifically, it addresses the relationship between husbands and wives, urging husbands to love their wives sacrificially and wives to respect their husbands, both reflecting Christ's love for the church. Elaboration. Imitating God. Ephesians 5:1 encourages believers to be imitators of God, reflecting his love, kindness, and goodness. This means living a life that honors God and reflects his character, walking in the light. The chapter contrasts the darkness of the past with the light of Christ and calls believers to live in the light, avoiding immorality, greed, and other actions that reflect darkness. Filling of the Spirit. Ephesians 5:18-21 emphasizes the importance of being filled with the Spirit, which empowers believers to live a life of obedience, joy, and thanksgiving. Spousal relationships. The chapter provides specific guidance on marriage, urging husbands to love their wives sacrificially, mirroring Christ's love for the church, and wives to respect their husbands. This is presented as a way to demonstrate the love and unity found in Christ's relationship with the church. Mutual submission. Ephesians 5:21 encourages believers to submit to one another out of respect for Christ, creating a culture of mutual respect and love within the community. Who is the bride of the Lamb in the Bible? In the Bible, the bride of the Lamb refers to the church, which is the collective body of believers in Jesus Christ. This metaphorical representation emphasizes the intimate and sacred relationship between Christ and his followers. The phrase, bride of the Lamb, is particularly associated with the book of Revelation, where the church is presented as the glorious wife of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Here's a more detailed explanation. The church is the bride. The term bride of the Lamb is a metaphor that highlights the close relationship between Christ and the church. Just as a bride is prepared for her wedding day, the church is prepared for her union with Christ. Revelation and the New Jerusalem. The book of Revelation, particularly chapters 21 and 22, uses the imagery of a bride to describe the New Jerusalem, which is a city that symbolizes the ultimate fulfillment of God's promises and the church in its glorified state. Symbolism of purity and devotion. The image of a bride emphasizes the purity and devotion that characterize the church's relationship with Christ. The bride is adorned with the righteous deeds of the saints, signifying the church's holiness and righteousness. Different interpretations. While the vast majority of Christians identify the bride as the church, some interpretations suggest that the bride could also represent the New Jerusalem or the martyrs. Where in the Bible does it say, "Wives, be submissive to your husband"? Ephesians 5:24 restates the previous admonition by reversing the order.